and train them?
Well, I suppose the first thing was prosecuting my father and putting him in prison. And again, that would have been forced on us. People used to say you're real brave. We didn't feel brave. We felt it was forced on us. We had no option. We had to prosecute. And then we started therapy then to help us with the court case. And it's just been a roller coaster since then. We've tried absolutely everything. Tarot cards.
Who'd you go to first, though?
The Rape Crisis Centre was the first.
And how did they authenticate the fact that it had happened?
Well, again, we've had all different experiences with that as well. But fundamentally, it did put us on the steps, the first steps to recovery.
Yeah.
And it wasn't perfect, and we do have some negative experiences in the therapy, but fundamentally it did start us on our road to recovery, and we are grateful for that. But the biggest impact on our recovery has been the book. It's been writing,
that you finally got it out of your head,
and integrating what we're learning. We got a greater understanding of ourselves, of each other, of what happened to us, and we believe the damage that's done through abuse needs to really be understood if a change is ever to occur. We didn't even understand it, and it happened to us. The damage goes right to the core, and although you absolutely can go on to live a full and happy life, I don't know if that's ever really gone, but you don't have to live out of it any longer, and that's really significant, because we all have families, we're surrounded by friends and family who love us, we've all jobs, we're functioning addicts.
No, I think it's about, I think that the part of the healing for me that was probably the strongest was being able to take responsibility for my life and for my decisions and choices, and actually not being able to blame them on the abuse anymore. So I'm not a victim anymore. So if I make a bad choice now,
was it a
that's
crutch
my
for
choice.
a while that you sort of said?
When I went, I did. When I went into the Rape Crisis Centre, I remember the first time I ever heard, it's not your fault, it's nothing to do with you, it was done to you, you're innocent. And I took that to a whole new level. So I lived with thinking anything that was done around me, about me, had nothing to do with me. It wasn't anything to do with me. It was everybody else that was really bad. I was great. If everybody else would sort themselves out, I'd be fine. And I did live that for a while. And it was coming to the realisation that it's actually, I'm responsible for my choices and my decisions. And I think that's the healing.
Yeah.
And people also think we're really lucky to have each other. This is ultimately a journey you take on your own. Our bond has definitely grown stronger in the last year or two through the process of the book, and that's been down to Marion Quinn, who has helped us pull this book together. We wouldn't have got it done without her. But it's really a journey. We don't want to put people off by thinking, well, look at them, they have each other, I have nobody. Because ultimately you take this journey on your own.
Yeah.
But if you have a passion to be better, to live a better life, and take steps toward it, the right people will fall in your pathway. It didn't come easy for us and quick. There's no quick fix here. The damage goes so deep and takes so long for you to live that way. It takes that long to get back out of it again. You have to retrain yourself to think differently, to feel differently about yourself and about others.
And you were saying that you tried all sorts of things before the book. What was it?
Going to all psychics.
Yeah. And Oprah, we loved Oprah. We used to
Winfrey.
listen to anybody she had on who had, apparently healed, and we were going, oh yeah.
That's for us.
Yeah.
Every single self-help book, every book that you could possibly read, we've done it all.
Were any of them any use?
Yes,
They
all
would
of them.
have helped on certain stages
Just
in your
push
life.
it along. And
We're never finished. We're not cured by any means.
But see, then we had this picture of what cured would look like, you see, and we weren't there. And we weren't bringing out this book until we were somebody's, but we thought
we'll be dead.
We'll never get there.
Yeah.
So, it's your definition of cured. It's your definition of being a somebody.
And you're working to help others now, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Well, that's the only thing worth doing, really. That is basically what makes life worth living. That if we believe this book is bigger than us. It was meant to happen. The reason it took so long was meant to happen. The person who helped us finish it was meant. And it's ultimately to help other people. Because it's the only thing worth doing.
And at the presidential election on that day, there are two more referenda about different things. We've been long promised this...
children's rights.
Yeah, amendment to the Constitution. I don't know what difference would it make? I know the delay is probably for yourself very frustrating, but what difference would it make, do you think?
I think it's about everybody realising that children have to come first, because that's their future, that's their past, that's their everything.
You stop giving it lip service and really Like, are they saying this because they actually want to change, or are people saying it because it's going to get them brownie points? You have to make a serious commitment that this is actually going to happen, that children will be somebody. When we grew up, children were seen and not heard. Now, they say that's changed, but I wonder, like, are they listening? Are they blind, deaf, dumb, stupid? It's happening everywhere. What happened to us is not unique. I guarantee you from
And
the...
there's worse.
And it's also not gone away.
No.
So what would you say to somebody who's in that situation? Maybe, give me a scenario. A woman who knows that the husband is abusing and hasn't done anything about it.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. But I suppose the first thing is to find somebody you can talk to. That's the hardest thing, because going it alone doesn't work.
And this thrives on secrecy and shame and guilt. There's so many people walking around with guilt and shame that isn't theirs. And that needs to be addressed. And you can only start by talking. You find somebody to talk to. If they won't listen to you, find somebody else. I mean, making a phone call is great at the Rape Crisis Centre, but we had a long waiting list for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's improved. You know, I'd love to think it is.
But I do think
Resources
in the Children's Rights Act, the fact that the guidelines are now that if a child reports, if there's any report come, you have to actually report to the guards. It has to be compulsory. It has to be compulsory that that's reported, because there was quite a few instances in our childhood where people in authority, doctors, nurses, hospitals, seeing what was going on and had evidence of something going on and did nothing about it. And that's the difference with the Children's Rights Act. If they pass that where you have to report it, that's how you'll help people.
But then the resources have to be put in place to act on it.
Yeah.
It's a huge, huge step to make a phone call, even to the Rape Crisis Centre. Huge step.
And if it's not acted on, you lose your courage. You lose the moment. You're in a mindset. And if, like the time you made the phone call, they didn't get back to us.
No, and we were
thought,
delighted.
Yeah, because you don't really want to deal with it.
No, it's scary.
You
So
feel you
scary.
need to, but you don't want to. So if somebody doesn't pick you up on it, you're only too happy to put that back away somewhere.
Your father died when 1995, was it?
96.
96. Yeah. What's you mean? Do you look back with hate or what? Do you feel?
Absolutely not.
Not now. It's
He's a
done.
poor, sick individual, and we really believe...
No, there wouldn't be love there, but there is
No.
sympathy, empathy, sadness, loss, letting go.
And also because I think there's lots of lessons for people to learn. It's not good enough to just deal with the people who have been victims of abuse. I think the abusers, absolutely some research has to go into that.
Research.
You have to research what makes 3 people who've been abused, one of them turn out and then become an abuser and the other 2 not. Somebody has to answer the questions that what makes somebody an abuser, because it's not about being abused.
No,
It's
not.
more.
There's
It's
something
a
else
chemical
involved in it.
imbalance. I think it's a bit like that warrior gene they're after discovering in serial killers. I think they're going to discover that with people who abuse now. There has to be something done to help those. Never mind the victims. If you don't help the guys who are doing it, sure, you're no good to nobody.
And instead of writing them off, like they're somebody's son, somebody's,
Father, brother.
and something has happened to them too.
And what do you think? Is it some attraction to...
It's an illness. It's an illness. It's an
They never
addiction.
grew out of having that...
They could be. When you're abused, it's that age you get stuck in.
Right.
Whatever you're stuck in that age, and it doesn't matter that you might live to be 90. You could
Part
still
of
be,
you. A part of
Emotionally,
you
is
attraction-wise, you're still in that.
and then you understand abuse does stunt all growth, emotional, physical, everything.
And that's what you're acting out of. Everything
Yeah.
you do in your life is acting from that place. That we always said through writing the book that when this happens to you, you're very young, you wise up very quickly. Part of you wises up, and you know more than you should for the age you are. So you almost feel like an adult in a child's body. But that part of you is now left at that stage. You then grow up and you now feel like a child in an adult's body. And you don't understand so many things. You know, it does need research. It needs to be understood and not written off, because that's not going to help anybody.
No.
Did I hear you lost your mum recently?
Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
the 5th of October, 2 weeks ago.
Right. And what did she think of the book?
Well, she had Alzheimer's, so she did know, because
She was at the launch.
we're doing this book for 20 years. So she was well aware of it, and she did support us. And I think the only reason she died was because her work was done.
Yeah, she knew
Absolutely
we were okay.
believe she gave up because her work was done. But we did lose her many years ago through Alzheimer's, so although she knew who we were, it was very hard to actually communicate with her. but she was with us 100%. And I think the only reason she rested was finally, thank God.
And we had a lovely few days where in the hospital.
Yeah.
It was very special.
And the future, the present and the future now, how do you view it? I mean, as you said, this book, because you've written it, you've got a lot out of your heads, put it into it, and in a way drawn a lot of lines.
Yeah, but it's great, but there's plenty of opportunity in that book for systems in particular to change. Like, we've given a child's perspective on abuse, which would help anyone working with children and families. We've spoken about the judicial system, which really, there's many opportunities in there to make changes. Like, this could go on. It is bigger than us. It's bigger than we'll ever be. But I think it's only the beginning. Like, it's the end of a road for us, but it's the beginning of a new one.
And there's still learning happening for us too, because when we wrote that book, we were writing it right as if it was happening. We wrote it in first person. Then we discussed it, and we learned a lot. But when the book was finished, we've now got to look at it now and take out the messages that we feel are important for us and for others. So we're still learning, looking at it ourselves. It's just looking at it from a different perspective. And integration.
Yeah, most people read that in one sitting. But the reality, it's one of those books you'd have to keep going back to and reflecting, because there's so much in it.
Dipping
and we
in
have
and
had lots of feedback from people in the same situation who feel they're actually getting strength by realising they're normal.
And that must be very pleasing and satisfying.
Fantastic. Just what we wanted.
Right.
It's fantastic.
You told a fascinating story in your own fascinating dub way. It's great. And thank you for coming in this morning.
Thanks very much.
And the book is called Click Click. That was a signal, and the clicks of the figure. When you hear that sound, is it always?
Well,
we'd break your fingers.
I used to work as a waitress, and if anybody ever did that to me, they never got served.
All right, that is the Kavanagh Sisters. Is that it?
Yeah.
The name. Okay, it's Joyce June and Paula Kavanagh, and Marion Quinn co-wrote, and there's a great nice forward as well by Moya.
Yes,
Moya Doherty as well. Okay, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Great
Thanks,
to meet you.